Everyone, and welcome back to Milestone 1. Well, just go back here. Come on. I see. It's already been that long, huh? Anyways, just maybe... Perfect! Oh, it's back. It's back! Fast forward a few years later, we began to immerse ourselves in colored mana purification research. We conducted all sorts of absurd experiments. Sid loved high-risk experiments, a trait he may have inherited from his father. On one occasion, he suffered mana shock and ended up being unable to move his left arm. As I continued to support Sid, we spent our adolescent years in mana research. Every day, every single day of it, we trolled as if possessed by the god of mana himself. After countless failures, we finally succeeded. But finally, we were able to purify colored mana. This isn't self-praise or extravagance. It truly was the discovery of the century. News quickly spread throughout the entire outer pole. Then one day we began to look for investors who were willing to commercialize the mana system. Why? Tell me, just what was all this hard work for then? What exactly are we going to do if we don't look for investors? Conversion efficiency just with the filter isn't good enough. If sediment has low mana concentration, then that means it isn't good enough to be. It isn't going to be enough energy. How much time do you think it takes to convert enough energy to match a candle that lasts running for 2 to 3 hours? At this point, mining coals is still more efficient. Well, of course, our research is just in the initial stages. So if we continue our line of research, then... By the way, have you heard of electricity before? Electricity? Oh, are you talking about that person in the third sector who's trying to control the energy from lightning? That's right. But from what I hear, that technology still is still in its infancy. Not only that, it's quite dangerous. According to the opinion of the Board of Science, it probably won't see any widespread use anytime soon. The opinion of those idiots over at that board ain't worth their salt. If mana doesn't actually exist, then I sure heck be looking into electricity too. Besides, we're talking danger here, mana is just as guilty. Heck, it might be the way mana is more dangerous than electricity. What would make you say that? My left arm's been acting up again lately. Does it still hurt? Not exactly. Feels like it's, I don't know, it's weird. Like it's slowly being eaten away by something. What in the... Has it been that way since you were able to move it? No, just recently. I didn't say anything at first because it didn't really get in the way of the work, but it's hard to ignore lately. I wonder what's causing it. No clue, but one thing's for sure, there's still a whole lot of unknowns we've yet to discover about mana. As a result of further research, we succeeded in generating a stable, usable amount of mana. In the meantime, we managed to meet willing investors who were interested in our work despite our youth. We sure got lucky, I commented, Sid. No, we made this happen in response. He was the type who hated any fatalistic mindsets. A few years later, everything was going smoothly. Thanks to the veteran, the Zevite enterprise was established without a hitch. At the same time of the funding, Sid married the girl of a neighboring town who entered the company. Her name was Eveline Crossrow. She had unnatural beauty, emerald eyes, and pearly white skin. Outspoken and imbued with a strong sense of justice. However, she had been born of weak constitution, much like Sid's mother. Her, Eline's, wish was to benefit other people and the world. She was the type of person who could change the atmosphere just by being there. No matter how rebellious or contrarian someone is, they become docile and obedient when faced with her. One couldn't help but think of her as a good person, regardless of logic or reason. She was simple, truly lovable human being. There wasn't anyone who wouldn't be inspired by her zeal. As the Zevite grew in power, so did its profits and efficiency as it continued to devote itself to the greater good. It didn't reach its peak efficiency, but when winter came, it managed to cut casualties down to less than half. The company continued to gain influence. As we continued to grow in fame and fortune, Rudo was born. Rudo, he was a brilliant child. Having inherited both Elaine's kindness and his father's wisdom, Rudo was truly a good person. Lived their days in happiness. At the time, we had realized, somewhere unbeknownst to us, we had created a great and powerful enemy. Hey, Sid, Elaine, have you heard about Hivas? The company of that idiot who tried to control lightning, right? Of course I have. I have too, and none of it is any good. Filter or something. Shouldn't we do something about them? Who cares? Honestly, I don't even know what they're trying to do with those old relics of filters. But that clearly means he's painting a target on our back. Must be bitter that we ruined his plans for electricity. No, that bastard can do whatever the hell he wants to. He failed to make electricity succeed. He's got a grudge against us. Now he's sticking his neck in the mayonnaise industry. And to top it off, he uses his product that his rival designed to start his own company. Sure got guts, I'll give him that. I promise you we're equals from here on. Don't be stupid, I wouldn't do anything like that. He's got no vision. Touché. But you have a point. What does he hope to accomplish by using those filters? That's a losing strategy when going up against us. Well, who knows? If ever against someone who's trying to use his enemy's ideas against him and live, it's a tough a nut job like that is to take down. What's wrong, Elaine? You're looking pretty pale. I have a bad feeling about all of this. How come? It's just everything's been going so smoothly for all of us. Something's got to happen sooner or later. Hey, now you're talking karma. We ain't done a single awful thing to anyone. Why do you think we need to pay back for all the happiness we've experienced so far? I suppose so. A few years later, Rune was born. With almost inexplicable thing, he has experienced an explosion of growth. Despite being no competition in terms of both experience with mana and underlying technologies, they managed to one-up us in terms of business acumen. Their expansion was absolutely unprecedented. No one was able to anticipate that the Hevis could gain enough power to compete with Zevites in just a few short years. Men are likely to become a highly dangerous supplement to us residents in the Outer Pole, just as it had been to Sid when his left arm was affected. Make one mistake and you could lose your life. Sid knew that well. Because enough investors for the company were secured, Sid was able to prioritize development of medical treatments when the Zevite enterprise was first established. Alien superheaded the charge of having the Zevites assemble every skilled doctor around and funded Zevites Medica. People had to go under proper training to handle mana as part of their work in Zevite. Zevite dedicated its resources to educating and training his employees. However, it takes time to develop competent mana miners and sediment handlers. Regardless, developing skilled, educated personnel and providing a safe work environment were a top priority. On the other hand, Heaven's strategy was completely ignore all safety protocols and exploit the poor economic situation. Heaven's strategy process 1. It's a drug extracted from mana created humans who could continue to work without sleep or rest, or who could produce antibodies that could combat mana. Furthermore, the subjects of the drug were promised a lifetime employment, immunity to low-level mana shock, and superhuman strength. Hevex points its effort into marketing itself as an entity that can grant these kinds of abilities, serving to excite its subjects all the more. The masses ate up the Hevites' hyperbole-filled slogans. It was a devious tragedy that resonated with everyone at the time, when employment was at an all-time low. Excuse me, guys, sorry. Yes, must been acting up. Hey, that was just too much. Yeah, the after effects on subjects, I can't believe they're that horrible. Completely losing it because of insomnia. Turning into nothing but skin and bones. Bodies rotting away due to partial mana shock. The Abbey was filled with victims of Hevite's operations. Some patients even had to be carried off to a church in the neighboring town. I know. And Sid, we have another problem. I brought Elaine and the Medica chief over the friars to the purpose to construct a general hospital in the Zevites, but they gave you the stink eye? Yes, or rather, we were assailed with some rather unbecoming speech. It was because of people like us that the god Amino was angered, causing these victims in the first place. That this was divine retribution for being blinded by our greed, desire for convenience. Damn! Can't exactly tell whether or not the priest was right. But this isn't the time for that. I believe we need to pursue the Medica project even more now. Why does the governor just outlaw the human testing of Process 1? That would solve the problem altogether. I'm sure if the Board of Science would just do something, then the government would. I doubt that. Why, people are dying here. Technology to create Process 1 for mana was developed by the Outer Pole. The only thing who've been trained can make it, and of course, use machinery that's only available on the Outer Pole. So here's my take on the whole situation. The government of the Board of Science and the Hevites are all in cahoots, secretly exporting Process 1. What? Why would they do that? First of all, its ability to use it, and that comes to mind as the same thing that the Hevites does for its workers, drugs to double up the creditors, performance enhancing for their enemies, or maybe they found ways to weaponize the stuff. Well, it isn't a pretty success. Depending on where research goes, they can find all sorts of uses for it. No. Well, not I have any proof of anything, it's all just a guess. So the worse your predictions get, the more likely they are to be true. Putting that aside, let's get back on track. Like Abba said, I don't plan on getting that hospital set up. But Sid, a vast majority of those patients would rather seek salvation from the church than medical attention from a hospital. I'm sure they get into the overcrowded abbey and the newly built hospital, and that it's possible they'd present themselves to death. Do people hate us that much? That can't be. We didn't do anything for people to hate us that much, right? I suppose to the average layman, there isn't much difference between Heavens and us. In any case, I don't see a real point in constructing a hospital the way things are going now. Damn, what do we do then? Sid, I have a plan. What you said about the government and the Hevites earlier got me thinking. Why don't we just make the church allies with the Zevites? Huh? Financial backing is given. We renovate their facilities and get them new equipment, and even build a new abbey altogether. Then we name the hospital after the church, put it under their management. In exchange, the actual hospital operations remain under Zevit's Medica. What about that? What? I was saying that Rex, Raglan, and Gerben... that was hard to say. They will reign, but not govern. Wait, just a minute here. The entire thing's gotten so huge, I don't even know where to begin. Besides, they clearly hate us. What would make you think they'd even want to work with us? I have a good idea. Idea? I heard quite a number of sisters passing away the other day due to a contagious form of mana shock. There were some who put their life on the line trying to subdue. The patients grew violent and unstable. With love as their only weapon, they tried to quell the men, and many times stronger they were, muscles swollen of doping effects. Anyway, they did absolutely everything in their power to provide their utmost care for their patients. Sid, we should dedicate our next project on absolute obedience or tamanta to the sisters. Or rather than models specifically made for mana mines, we should focus on creating humanoid models to help support the sisters. That way they can protect the sisters from any contagious forms of mana shock, or any patients who get too violent. Eileen? That's quite an ambitious plan, but it might actually work out. I'll pass the proposals to the mechanical engineering partners about this. There's a lot of poetic justice to all this. For people like us who make a living off science, probably the best theistic thing to do to be saved by religion. Like, we have to pay attention to the little details like that. We have to focus on caring for the patients and minimizing the victims. A few days later, we headed to the church. Father, we are indebted for being allowed an audience today. But of course, anything for the famous president of the Zephite Enterprise, whom the church so despises. Now, what is it? Mr. Sid Zephite, what is it that you and your organization need of us? My wife told me about your circumstances here the other day. I heard that many of the sisters here have become victims of the subjects that they were trying to save. This is the unfortunate truth. State of affairs is brought about the competition between you and heavens. By playing with mana, you treat the blessings of God like mere toys. Do you understand that is blasphemy? Do you have anything to say as a fool who chose to ignore their faith, blindly pursue science until its bitter end? I have no words to offer in my defense, but we at Zephytes have no intention of just giving up. Even if Zephite Enterprises were to abandon the mana race and let Hevites win, that wouldn't put a stop to the victims. I can confidently say that we are on the side of good here. We conduct our business with the highest moral and ethical standards. To me, the nature of your business and Hevites is one and the same. I am well aware of that. However, I want you to understand that we will not back down against Hevites. We have our beliefs to adhere to. While you continue to rebel against God like this, it is God's will we simply must accept, so we can carry out His divine plan. Is it difficult to accept that He has been given to you and live a life within your means? Science is nothing but the height of folly. It is proof that you are ungrateful to blessings and the life that you have received. Sure, that might be the case for you, but let me tell you this, Father. As long as we humans have this thing called curiosity, the march of science will never be stopped. We just had to find out the hidden possibilities of mana. Now it's not just about mana. You tell a human being to live in this world without trying to satisfy their curiosity. That's just plain impossible. And curiosity is another one of those gifts your God gave us humans, isn't it? Blasphemy. Did you want to meet me face to face to simply lecture me on God and human nature? No, we came here because we'd like to pitch you something. Pitch? What could this be now? We're currently developing machines to assist with work in mines. They're powered by mana, being able to understand what we have to do and carry out the commands. What in the... However, we decided to stop work on that. Instead, we decided to devote our time to creating machines to provide support to the sisters of the church. And why exactly would you do that? Father, do you want to work with us at Civics? I beg your pardon? Right now, even if we build a general hospital in town, there would be far more people who will seek help from the church. But Father, that just isn't going to work out. Sorry to say, but what you're doing isn't going to save a single life. The only way to save people who are dying from mana is with mana itself. Would be completely different values, but I'm sure that the share of the same fundamental desire to save as many people as we possibly can. Please, let us work with you. I'm sure patients won't have any problems if you have them go to a hospital that has your blessing. I see. And there, we're going to have our machines take the place of the sisters instead. We've already partnered with an engineering company to make sure they look perfectly human. They'll have just as much humanity as we do. If we let the machines deal with any dangerous patients, then I'm sure we can prevent any sisters from losing their lives. The Sisters Project is their way of showing our sincerity in this proposition. Please, won't you consider? I see how it is. Truly, a suggestion could have only been put forth by someone who is absorbed in the worldly desires such as yourself. A suggestion that completely and utterly ignores the demands of our church. Well, No, that's enough. This is no longer something we can discuss. However, you wish to save as many as you can, correct? Your sentiment reeks of arrogance and lack of concern for the souls of the deceased. But very well, I understand your reasoning. We are very grateful for... However, we cannot accept those machines of yours. Why not? Don't you want to prevent any more of the Abbey sisters becoming victims? Of course I want to put this off to the victims, and I wish to save as many people as we can. However, these patients have all come here seeking salvation from God. Although I suppose you atheist heathens won't understand. No matter how well they can mimic human behavior, like how a hymn sung without a heart won't heal. A prayer without something without a soul will not save anyone. Was Sid just silenced by a member of the clergy? Still, for such non-believers to save lives in the name of the church, your convictions have come through. I will need some time. Oh my. My sync was cut. The connection just... Oh no. Sorry, I'll get it patched up now. Milady? More importantly, how is your condition? Well, I mean, how do you feel? Yeah. No, what I mean is, that's just such a pain. That's the first time I had so much difficulty connecting a dive, right? In that case, that much different than usual. I'm under a lot of pressure from external mana, so that the internal mana can stabilize. Able to refine mana consistently is quite a difficult feat. Even though we look to be the same people, it's amazing how differently our bodies can function. It's like we're completely different species. I beg to disagree. It all boils down to the presence or absence of mana. If we were to stay here too long, then our mana systems would end up deteriorating. We would end up in the same physicality as you. Albus, you and we are all just the same human beings. I see. If I may, about that memory just now, you're referring to a church. Does that mean there are also mana-related religions in the Outer Pole? There certainly are. In fact, the reason why a company like ours was able to grow so much, despite being anything but religious, is because of Elaine's idea that we partner with the church. Even in the Outer Pole, there are plenty of people who seek help from the god of mana. I never knew. The owner of the pawn shop said that the god of mana had forsaken this land, which is what led to the development of science. That's pretty accurate. Even though our principles of religion contradict each other, they can still coexist. This boils down to us humans needing something to believe in, even if it's a god who abandons us. I thought this was a land with nothing but self-serving individuals, but that wasn't the case. Sid and Lean have such a strong sense of duty and concern. Those two are truly amazing. There's much I can learn from such wonderful people. Agreed. While fixating on working, simply conducted research, these two wholeheartedly directing their efforts into the Outer Pole a better place. I was often reminded of the difference in our personalities when they were still around. What do you mean? I had heard that Sid had already moved on to the next part of the world, but has his wife, Aline, also passed on as well? Several weeks after Rune died, she also passed away. You see, Aline was killed by Rune. She alleged that Aline had always drunk with Process 1 before it was refined into a drug. She was killed by her own flesh and blood daughter. I can't believe it. Rune often frequently the Zevite's lab had snuck in and stole Process 1 that kept for research purposes. She had taken enough to kill 10 adults. The directors and executives of the company said the outer pole reagents were all supposed to merge with the Zevites, had later been found dead, poisoned. Rune then committed suicide after. Thanks to that one incident, our dream, Sid Alliance and mine, to expand Zevite throughout the outer pole was completely scrapped. I was at a sincere loss for words. Just what could possibly drive Rune to do all that? At just 10 years of age, we heard that she is a problem child of sorts. Oh, this is far beyond that. The devil's spawn. She really does live up to the nickname. What was her motive? It wasn't something that pressed her to do that, right? You couldn't find anything like that. Rune had an abnormality in the brain, you see. A portion of her brain was working. Even if she was able to understand emotions like happiness, sadness, and anger, she couldn't feel them herself. She didn't feel fear or guilt, nor was she able to develop a sense of compassion. But could someone have developed such a destructive tendency simply because they lack emotion? I don't know. Maybe Rune was special. At this point, there's no way for us to find out. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I finished the connection. Are you alright, Sophie? You're looking a little pale there. Yes. Do we continue from earlier? Yes. Alright, here it'll be about the Zevite siblings. Now I warn you, it's going to be rather disturbing. Are you sure you want to keep going? We are. And we're going to see this in the next part. So thank you all for watching, and this has been Yashiroreaper, and I've got to say, bye! Hey guys, was Yashiroreaper, and thank you for watching the video. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and hit the bell to be notified and join the notification squad. Also, check out my Teespring and Redbubble shops, links below, with my Tumblr, Tapastic, and Amino app name. Thank you for watching. Hit the Patreon icon to help me continue making cool content for you all. Love you guys, and see you in the next video. Bye!